Wow, it's just us. Just us today.
Wow.
How was your day? I just want to talk to you about your day. So your dad's making like empanadas, but with
yes,
like
with actual sugar. Yes, in quarantine he has made some sweets,
yeah.
and I've asked him not to,
Oh,
and he still makes them because my brother is
he's eating sugar.
he is.
Yeah,
but
your
not.
dad's not.
He's not, but he will cheat when he makes this stuff.
Oh, okay.
And I a few times have cheated as well, but I always feel worse.
Yeah.
Like it always makes me feel blah.
Yeah.
But so earlier today I woke up, when I usually do at 5.
Oh, that's insane. On the weekend?
Yes.
I can't get myself out of bed before 10 a.m. Like since quarantine has started, I wake up at like 8:39 and then I lay in bed reading on my phone until 10 a.m. Anyway, please continue.
Well, I woke up at 5 and read on my phone until like 6. And then I wrote, and then I got dressed and went to the Atlanta Botanical Garden with one of my friends from work.
So you left your house today?
I left my house. Yes,
I'm so impressed and
we
pleased
wore
for
masks,
you.
and we didn't touch anything. And we went when the place opened at 9.
Yeah, so it wasn't too busy.
We only stayed for an hour, and then there were more people that started coming, and a lot of them were not wearing masks. We left.
Everyone wear your mask, okay? This is a podcast
mask.
that believes in masks and science.
And
if you're not wearing a mask
to encourage them.
Well, that would make our audio not as good.
Kidding.
But
I know.
Unless you're doing a remotely recorded podcast, I'm gonna say this while looking into the camera. If you're not wearing a mask in public, fuck you. Like seriously.
Fuck you.
Like fuck you. Like this is why I'm trapped in my house. It's because of you. If you're not wearing a mask, wear a mask.
Other places, like my friend is Chinese, and so her whole family is in Beijing, and
they're all probably like, these Americans, what the fuck?
They're living their life as usual. Everyone is going to work. Everyone is going out. Everyone is doing everything, but they're all wearing masks.
And they're not fucking. I can't even. I just can't even with this. Like Americans need to get their shit together. Put the mask on. If for 6 to 8 weeks we wore masks, and then afterwards, of course, you'd have to continue to wear them. Like, live with it. This is the situation we're in. I wouldn't have to be trapped in my fucking house every day. I can't wait to talk about how this movie really, really felt very relatable to me.
Yeah.
I am trapped in my fucking house every day because you goddamn people will not wear masks because it's uncomfortable and it's sweaty and I don't like it and you can't see my face and
it's
the
not
only
proven
people
that it helps.
It is, and legitimately the only people who have a complaint about it like impairing their ability to function are people who read lips, who are hard of hearing, who they have difficulty communicating because people are wearing masks and they can't read lips. Legitimate complaint. For real.
Yeah.
If you're just let me back this up. If you're a person who is not hard of hearing and otherwise you're healthy, there's no reason, not to say that people that are hard of hearing aren't healthy, but I feel like there are some medical conditions where it might be difficult to wear a mask, but the overwhelming majority of Americans should be wearing a mask. And if you're not, fuck you. That's my PSA.
Fuck you with something hard and sandpapery as that video. Let me borrow that top that we watched. Remember? Let me borrow that top.
Oh,
let me borrow that top. Yeah.
One of our recordings that I never released because I couldn't figure out how to get stuff on YouTube without getting pulled down. But that was in the past. One day we'll release that Horse Girl rewatch or watch along or whatever the fuck that was. Welcome to the Feminine Mistake Podcast. A podcast where we believe in science.
Yes. Science
and masks.
Is important. It is.
It is a podcast where we watch films. Your favorite films, new films maybe, films that are crushing it on Hulu right now.
So new, so fresh.
So new, so fresh. We also watch movies from the past, but this time we're watching one that's new. And we talk about how we talk about the female characters in them, how women are written, portrayed, and
I
that sort of
only want
thing.
to talk about Andy Samberg today. I'm just kidding.
Okay, so this is a podcast about Andy Samberg.
I'll cover Andy Samberg. You can cover Kristen Milioti.
We have switched the focus of this podcast. It's now called the Feminine Andy Samberg Podcast.
Yes.
That is the new name of this podcast.
Yes.
That's all we're going to be talking about from now on. We're only watching Andy Samberg properties from now on.
And Adam Driver.
And Adam Driver. It's the Adam and Andy podcast.
Please, let's start it.
Did we just come up with a new podcast idea? Because I think we did. Don't tempt me, Sarah. I'm stuck in quarantine and I can't do anything but podcast or do stuff over Zoom or that sort of thing. So I am not above starting a new podcast. Don't tempt me. I will do it. Are you serious? We could create a podcast where I watch nothing but Andy Samberg and Adam Driver movies and we talk about them?
Yes.
Fuck off. I would do that in a second. Okay.
Me too.
So today's film that we're going to be talking about is Palm Springs. Brand new movie. Woo! Mm-hmm. Jazz Yay. Hands. Palm Springs just came out hot off the
super hot.
Of course, this is going to be coming out next week, soon. Is it August yet? What the fuck time is it? It's almost August. It'll be coming out the first week in August. And it is on Hulu. You can stream it right now. It actually, fun fact, was one of the most in the sense of how much money was paid for this movie when it was picked up at Sundance, the distribution deal, one of the highest selling, like largest, biggest numbers in terms of how much they paid for this movie when it was bought at Sundance. So all you indie filmmakers out there, we've heard that making an indie film and going to Sundance and waiting for Hollywood to pick you is not a viable option anymore. But it is apparently if you have Andy Samberg in your movie. So all you have to do is have Andy Samberg and J.K. Simmons.
It has whimsy.
I know. Whimsical. I'm just kidding. I'm just saying, like, this is it's an indie movie, quotation marks, but it's got a pretty powerhouse cast.
Yeah.
We will get to that movie in a second. But first, Sarah.
Yes.
What have you been watching? What depressing true crime documentary you're going to present us with today?
I stopped that. After you told me to stop, I stopped.
I think it's best for your mental health that you do.
Yes. Yes. What have I seen?
Well, I know one thing that we watched together.
Yes.
We watched What We Do in the Shadows.
What We Do in the Shadows. Yes. The film.
The film, not the show, although I will watch the show. Did you watch the show after we watched the movie? Okay.
Not yet.
You had something. I see you gasping. Tell me. Please let me know.
My parents had seen the show but hadn't seen the movie.
So did you guys watch the movie?
They haven't yet, and I haven't watched the show, but we so they love the show, and I love the movie. I actually, in our house, we hiss at each other. We do, that kind of thing when we pass. Mm-hmm. And I did that yesterday to my dad, and he was like, "Hey, they do that on What We Do in the Shadows too."
Oh, that's cute. Your family is adorable. We had a socially distant hang where we went for walks. We were wearing masks. America. We wore masks. We went for a walk, and then we sat in this garoffice, which is separate-ish from the rest of my house. We have a whole AC system just for this. We sat 6 feet apart with our masks on and watched What We Do in the Shadows, and it was delightful. It was weeks ago. It was it was for your birthday, right?
Yeah.
July 5th. Happy birthday, by the way. So on Sarah's birthday, we had a socially distant hang. We watched What We Do in the Shadows. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I know we're very late to the party on this. Like, a lot of people have already seen this movie. But I fucking loved it.
Yeah, it was great.
I'm a big fan of those guys. I love all the stuff that they do. I love Flight of the Conchords. Obviously, I love Thor Ragnarok. I'm gonna butcher this gentleman's name. Let me just look up him real quick so that I can have. I every time I say his name, I say it differently. I don't know if you've noticed, but Sarah, privately amongst the two of us, but every time I say his name, I say it differently. I think
I
it's
forget his name.
Taika Waititi, right? That's maybe how
Mhm.
you say it. Taika.
Yeah.
Yes, Taika Waititi.
He's
Love
adorable.
that guy.
Yeah.
Kind of have a crush on him now after seeing that movie. He is
Mhm.
so adorable. That scene where he's talking about his like long lost love, and he has that
Mhm.
like he prints out that photo of her and puts it on the coffin and then closes
Mhm.
the coffin and then jerks off is like
Yeah.
one of my favorite jokes in the whole movie. I love the werewolves, like the
Yes.
broy werewolf pack. Like, of course, werewolves would be bros. It actually, and I remember us when we were watching that movie, thinking about saying like, man, I'd like to make something like this, but with like women, like obviously, because
Yeah.
there's like hardly any women in that movie, which is like fine. I'm not saying like that is like, I'm not wagging my finger at the movie about that, but I did feel like, wow, I'd love to see something like this. I do. There are female characters in this show, I believe.
I don't know.
You don't know. Anyway, I know. I think one of the main leads is female. Not that there was a woman in the movie. She was the like
The
the
human
human,
who wanted to be a vampire.
right? The servanty kind of person
Mhm.
who did all his dry
The,
cleaning and all that stuff.
familiar.
Yes, which my understanding of a familiar is that it's an animal. I guess
Mhm.
that's
Yeah,
how
and
they
it's for
use
a
it on
witch
Sabrina.
too.
Yeah, so I was a little confused about that, but that's fine. I kind of accepted whatever lore they were going to hand me.
Mhm.
But What We Can Do in the Shadows was very funny, and I enjoyed watching it with you. I laughed a lot, so that was a good
I
one.
keep yawning. Sorry.
Hey, we got along. We got to get through this movie, girl.
I'm not tired. I'm
We
not
got to get
tired, I
through this
swear.
movie.
Yeah.
We haven't even begun to dig into it yet. Is there anything that you've been watching?
So, I watched the entire series of Pose, the first 2 seasons, and I watched Dear
Right.
White People, the first 3 seasons.
Wow. So, what'd
Mhm.
you think? That's a
I love
lot
both
of
of them, yeah.
content. That's a lot
Yeah,
of
I
ground to
watched
cover.
them in a few days. 'Cause I just spent, like,
Excellent.
a few days. Yeah. The first season of Dear White People is excellent
Mhm.
at, like, on the edge of your seat,
Mhm.
laughing,
Mhm.
cringing,
Mhm.
gasping.
Mhm.
Second season.
There's an indie film as well.
Oh,
Dear White People.
I didn't
Yeah,
know.
I believe, yeah.
Um, Second season is not as strong, but still good,
Mhm.
and third season is, the weakest, but
Okay, but
still
still great.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
cool.
it's a really good show, you should see it.
Excellent.
Um, and Pose, of course, is fantastic.
Fabulous. Oh my god, so
Yeah,
good.
very good.
I I've
Porter, just
God.
he's
Uh,
so good.
he
And there
is
was, like
incredible.
there was one episode where it was they were at, like, it was a benefit show for
Mhm.
AIDS, and like, the entire episode was just, like, all of them singing one right after the other, like, they all have
Oh,
great voices. It was and it had,
wow.
Patty LaPone that
Of course,
season was a character,
of
and
course.
she, like, busted out one of those old
Mhm.
songs and,
She's like
like,
Broadway royalty.
yes.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you've pulled yourself out of the look. I love true crime. We all love true crime, but I'm glad that you pulled yourself out of the true crime hole, like the very because I feel like you. It wasn't just true crime. Like you had gone deep and
Deep,
dark, like
deep.
deep and dark, and like you've
Yes.
come out, and now you're enjoying some narrative programming,
Yes.
and I'm
Yes.
happy for you. I think that's a good step.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, so some recs. Those of you guys that are stuck in quarantine, uh some stuff that you may have already seen, but we didn't, and we're just working our way through it. Pose, Dear White People, What We Do in the Shadows. If you're watching the TV show and you haven't seen the movie, go back and check out the movie. It's very funny.
Yeah.
Charming. I would say charming is a good way
Charming.
to describe it.
Like, unnervingly charming.
Unnervingly charming. That should go on the poster.
Yes.
Speaking of charming.
Oh.
Should we talk about this week's movie?
Yes.
Okay. So this month's movie, we're going to be talking about it this month, Palm Springs. Written by Max
Barbacow.
And written by Andy Sierra? He's not going to come after us. I do know in looking up their filmographies that they are pretty new. And I'd like to talk a little bit more at length about that. Perhaps I'm going to write that down to work that in, because I do think there's something really interesting about the release of this movie and the time that it came out that relates to these two gentlemen who wrote it. But largely unknown, you might say. It's not that they are completely unknown. They're Andy, the writer, is a staff writer on a show. In fact, since I have his fucking IMDb page up, let's just so he's a staff writer on a show that I don't watch, Lodge 49. So it's not like they're not complete they're not like us nobodies, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But they are generally nobodies for a movie that Hulu says is their most watched premiere film on Hulu. Like, this movie came out and like literally everyone is watching it.
Well, that trailer really sold it.
Yeah, it
and
really did.
Nicole showed that to me, sent it to me, and was like, we should watch, not for the show, but she was just like, we should just in general watch this. And I was like, yes.
So I guess we're in there. So we're talking about our experience.
Yeah.
No, this is good. No, I mean, like, let's talk about our film. This is our portion where we talk. What was your experience with the film prior to the podcast? It is new, so we don't have any experience. Brand new. Brand fucking new. But I saw this trailer and it made me feel so good, so warm and fuzzy inside, that I sent the trailer to Sarah and I was like, let's do this movie for the podcast this month. While we're here, let's talk about these guys are newbies, these filmmakers. They made this film. It went to Sundance. Like I said, they have enough credentials to get Andy Samberg and I'm sorry, let me the actress
Kristen
Milioti, who was in How I Met Your Mother and some other stuff, and J.K. Simmons, who is wow. And Peter Gallagher is in this movie. There are a lot. Peter Gallagher played the father.
Oh yeah.
So
I remember when I thought he was so hot, and now he's like some like dad. Some
dads
old
can
dad.
be hot, Sarah.
No,
have you ever heard of a silver fox?
He's not like just a dad. Like, he's like an adult dad.
He's not a daddy, is what you're saying.
He's a dad of an adult.
He's a dad of a dad, is what you're saying. Okay.
Yes.
Anyways, but these guys are essentially newbies in the sense that they don't have a lot of credits, especially like feature films. They've got some shorts. I think they were not too far out of, like, they're relatively early in their careers. So you got these guys, they're sort of newish. They make this movie, it goes to Sundance, it sells for more than most movies have ever sold for at Sundance, and then the fucking pandemic hits, right? So this movie is not going to get a theatrical release. They did end up doing a little bit of they did end up releasing it at drive-ins, so it did get released at drive-ins and I think some small theaters. And it goes to Hulu and then becomes like the most watched fucking premiere movie on Hulu. Here's what I think. There have been several movies recently. Indie comedy is in jeopardy due to the fact that up until quarantine, all the movies that were getting all the buzz and that were dominating the box office were these big budget, like, Marvel films and like Star Wars and big tentpole movies. Tenet, which is a Christopher Nolan movie, was supposed to be released this summer. It's been pushed back because Christopher Nolan doesn't want to release it online, right? I'm thinking specifically of movies like, and of course these are films that were written and directed by women, so that as perhaps something that is unfortunately a disadvantage for them because it's hard to be a woman in this business. But Booksmart and Late Night, which were two like indie movies that were like a buzz at Sundance and all and all these indie film festival circuits. It was like, these movies are going to be a big hit. Booksmart and Late Night, right? Written by Mindy Kaling. Those movies essentially made no impact on the box office. And the theory is that people just don't go to the theater to see indie comedy. They go to the theater. These movies are being overshadowed by these big tentpole movies. So here's what I think. If this movie had come out, and nothing to say that it's not great, Booksmart is a great movie, right? Maybe we should do that on the show. That might be a fun one. Nothing to say that this isn't a great movie, because it fucking is. Like, I know we're about to gush all over how good this movie is, right? Did I say that? That sounded way grosser than I meant it to. Thank you for making that face so that I could hear in my head how gross it was. We are about to very respectfully give praise to this movie. Does that sound gross also?
Very respectfully gush.
We're about to very respectfully gush.
Very politely.
Respectfully and politely. Can you see how much I'm blushing right now? Like how red my face is?
Jizz all over it. I'm just kidding. Nicole. Come on.
I don't even know what I was saying. But I think if this movie had been released not in quarantine, in the theater, it probably would have gotten buried under Tenet or whatever, and not a lot of people maybe would have seen it. That's what I think. So in a way, the fact that quarantine happened and people are stuck in their houses and this movie was released on Hulu and people are like, holy fuck, it's a new movie and I need to see a fucking new movie. I can't watch Sabrina again or Stranger Things or whatever the fuck people are watching. I think that quarantine may have helped the release of this movie, to be honest.
Perhaps.
And the subject matter as well, which we'll get into.
But I mean, that trailer, if anyone watched that trailer, like, I definitely, like, it piqued my interest. Like,
but enough for you to go out and buy a movie theater ticket to see Palm Springs?
Nothing does that.
I'm just saying, by the time it came out on streaming, you probably would have forgotten about it. That's how these movies get buried.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's true.
So that's our little that's my little diatribe about the state of indie film, basically.
Are we done? Can I go?
Yes, you were done. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the podcast.
Our diatribe is over.
Fuck. Let's get into talking about this movie, should we?
Yes.
The house is a mess, Jack. The kids are a mess, Jack. You're a mess, Jack.
You have been a total bitch ever since you came to New York.
You seem sort of distant.
Let's just do it, man.
You look stupid and rich. Stupid and rich.
Fascist.
All right, let's get into it.
Palm Springs.
Palm fucking Springs.
Palm fucking Springs. It is the year 2020, and we are talking about Palm Springs. Sarah, I think it's safe to say that we both fucking love this movie, right?
I did. I messaged Nicole right when I saw it. I was like, I love it.
I watched it twice. You watched it twice.
Mm-hmm.
My husband, Chris, who hasn't listened to this podcast in the 4 years that we've been doing it and never will, hates watching movies more than once, and we watched this movie twice.
Wow.
I know.
That's high praise from him.
Yes. So it was fucking great. God damn, where should we start?
Oh my gosh. How about Orchid Explosion by Fournier?
That was one of my favorite jokes. My favorite time he says it is when he says, I know about you and what's his face? Abe. I know about you and Abe. And she goes, how? And he's like, well, can you say it again, Sarah?
He's like, Orchid Explosion by Fournier. He just like added, they always have to say that.
Pause dramatically before he says by Fournier. Oh boy, that was a good joke. What do you want to say about that? It is a very significant device that was used very well, I think, in this movie.
Yes.
It was one of those Chekhov's guns kind of situations.
And like the way it was brought up really drew attention to it, but not in a like, oh, this is a Chekhov's gun. You were just like, oh, that's weird. You know, you're kind of like,
to really hit on that, I feel like we need to talk about that first scene at the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
Because he zeroes in on her, right? So first of all, if you haven't seen this movie, I don't fucking know why you haven't. Go fucking watch it right now.
Do it. Pause and watch.
Pause this shit right now. Go watch the movie. It's a movie about time travel.
And
very Groundhog Day like.
Groundhog Day. Yes.
It's very but unlike Groundhog Day, the Andy Samberg's character Niles has been in the loop already for a long time, and someone else joins him in the loop. And that's what the movie is about, right?
Yeah.
So Sarah, this what? So in the first scene at the wedding, I know. Did you like that?
Okay.
That there was a
Yes.
I'm sure aren't there a lot of characters with your name though?
Lots of Sarahs,
no one is
yes.
ever named Nicole. Anyway, Sarah, write me a movie that has my name with my character in it, my name.
Okay.
Just do it for me. Okay.
I will.
So at the wedding, he really like zeroes in on her, and like me and Chris immediately, and I think everybody picked up on the fact like he knows her already. Like when he says that speech, the wedding speech, where he's talking about how you're not alone and blah, 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 blah. We were like, he has spent probably years crafting that speech just to get this woman into bed. Like immediately you can tell that he has been learning about her. I didn't know if they had slept together yet, but he was obviously working on it. I don't know. Did you get that sense?
I did not get the sense that they had slept together. I got the sense that
I didn't know that. Yes, he was trying. Yes, I didn't know if they had slept together, but I felt like he had been gathering intel, I should say. And part of that is that he knows exactly what the hairspray smells like.
Yes.
And so I feel like that's part of it.
Yeah. And also, like, going back a little bit to the first scene where he's with his girlfriend, and
I
they have
could
this
talk
really
about this scene
awkward sex
forever.
And like, she's like, just you can watch, and then he like is like jacking off, and she's like, shit, oh my god, shit, shit, oh my god, shit, oh my god, shit,
oh my god, shit. And he's just like looking so miserable. That jerking off scene went on forever.
Yes,
and I was just like, I wanted to cry. How awkward and sad it was. The way that he's like, they're having sex on first of all, she's like, oh, fine, we can do it, but it has to be fast. And I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's a bad sign. And then they're like doing it on the dresser, and she's like, oh, you're getting your sweat all over me. And I was like, I am so sad already. Like, I feel so sad.
She's like, oh, I can't wait forever. I have to get, she's like, are you done yet? Like, it's awful.
Look, we've all said it. Haven't we?
Have we?
Haven't
I
we?
don't know.
Haven't we? At least once. Sometimes you have things to do in the morning. But I've never had someone awkwardly jerk off next to me while I get ready for my day.
No.
Have you? Have you?
Ooh. No. Maybe. No. No.
Oh?
No.
You sure?
Not just in the shower. It's fine.
Okay. Obviously him and his girlfriend don't have Niles, and I don't remember what the fuck her name is, blonde chick who was great. That actress was great.
Yes, she had a thankless part. Thankless
but important.
Yes.
They do not have a great relationship.
Mm-mm.
It seems like the spark, if there ever was one, has gone out. When he's laying on the bed looking miserable, and he's like, will you please kill me? And she's like, oh, you're so funny. And I was like, oh god, this is
she's
so
awful.
Sad.
She's so awful.
She's so awful. And she's like, it's not me, because I've had older boyfriends before.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's definitely you. But yeah, I think that initially this hair stuff I thought was just one of the clues that he had picked up over time, but it ends up being really important later, which I guess we will get
Don't reveal the secret
yet. I do want to get to that. God, I keep writing things down that I forgot I wanted to talk about. God, there's just so much to cover in this movie. But yeah, I love the hairspray. The fucking hairspray was so great. We just talked about Niles and the girlfriend. Let's see. I want to talk about, before we get further into this movie. Oh, you have something. You have something. You don't?
No, I just thought of something when I was thinking about their names.
Oh, please do. What?
And how her name is Sarah. It's so generic. It's so like Sarah, and his name is Niles. Just so like weird and like. And then I was like,
an unusual name.
And she's not a manic pixie dream girl.
No. She's not, which I appreciate because I think that it could have been like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if anything, he's a bit of a manic pixie dream
That's
girl.
That's what I was saying. That her name is Sarah.
Yeah.
And his name is Niles.
But he's not there to fix her. I don't want to reduce it to that because a manic pixie dream girl is one of those tropes where it's like this wild and dangerous person who wants to fix you, and neither of them are like that. They're just two lonely people.
Yeah.
Fuck. I just love them so much. I want them to get together and be happy forever.
There's so many great lines in this that just like got me in the feels.
In the feels.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Andy's face. He did such a good job in this movie. He wasn't just like a silly person.
Mm-hmm.
Like he really like felt things, and it was just really sorry.
Okay, can we talk about this? Who gave Andy Samberg the right to be this hot?
Who gave him
this movie? Who gave him the
right
to
skip ahead to that scene where they have sex, and he's like looking at her. He's like, wait, and he looks at her. I'm just like,
well, because he was about to tell her his secret.
Was he?
Yes, that's what I got the second time I watched it. So let's circle back to that. But yes, that was all very hot. And I was like, who gave him the right to be this hot wearing those stupid boxer shorts under his swim trunks?
Hot.
Who gave him the right? I just want to know who authorized that. I'm here for it though.
The person who authored the film.
Well, I mean, he's been low-key hot since Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Since SNL. For me, when he got on SNL, well, because I love the hair.
You do?
But when I was in high school,
a teenage girl with that hair.
When I was in high school, I loved guys with hair like that. I had a crush on a guy in high school with hair like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought, I mean, I always thought he was very funny, but I never found him to be like hot.
Oh, he was hot for me.
But I thought he was like low key hot in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but then this movie is just like, whoa, like what?
And when he's shirtless, hello.
He's 41. Good for you, bro.
Woo.
Looking the way that you do.
Yes.
I certainly don't know that I would look quite like that shirtless at my age at 40. But I have different parts. Okay.
Yes, you do.
So, here's what I want to talk about.
Okay.
Here's one of the reasons why I think this movie came out at the fucking perfect time for this movie to come out. I think it goes without saying that this movie, besides being about time travel, feels like I watch this movie and I feel like these characters being in quarantine. Chris and I talked about this, how every time they wake up, because of course each time the day resets, you hear wake up and their eye opens, right?
Yeah.
And that is what it feels like to me every fucking day that I wake up in my house in quarantine, because it's almost like, I mean, so let's talk about Andy and Niles' day first of all. So Niles, interestingly, at least at the time we discover him, has decided to just kind of follow a pattern every day, the same pattern, right? Yep. He gets up, he has unpleasant, awkward sex with his girlfriend.
Why would he? Why?
I mean, why wouldn't he? He's going to end the night having sex with somebody else.
Ooh, is that why he can't come? Because he's so bored?
Yes,
okay,
obviously.
Cool. Yeah.
He doesn't want to be with her, but it's part of the pattern.
Yeah.
It's probably what they did the first day that he got stuck there.
She's the easiest person to have sex with.
Honestly, Chris and I were talking about this, and we think that he does it because the pattern is predictable. When he does something outside the pattern, things probably go wrong.
Yeah.
So, or maybe he's just given up, and there's no point in trying to step outside of the way the day is supposed to go.
Yeah.
He said he gave up. So that's basically what he said.
Yeah.
So he gets up, he has awkward sex with his girlfriend, he gets into the pool, he gets hit on by the groomsman who at one time he has anal sex with, which I liked that was one
I
of
liked
the
that too.
I liked that was one of the things he did, but that also he was like, I liked it.
He put his penis in my butthole. Yeah.
He's like, he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Also, because when I watched the second time, I didn't notice this the first time because I didn't know what their history was. But when he gives him the beer, the guy says, anything can happen. It's going to be a great day. And he kind of
Yeah.
gives him this like sort of suggestive look. And then Niles goes, not today, man. Like we're not doing that today.
Today is just any other day.
No, I think he means like it's not going to end with your penis in my butthole today.
Yeah.
That's what I took it to mean. So, and then, he goes through the rest of his day and he ends up at the wedding. And then I think the thing, honestly, my belief is that once he cracks the code on Sarah, I think that every night ends with him having sex with her. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not always out and the one thing that changed tonight when this movie starts is that Roy comes in and interrupts him and shoots him with the fucking arrow.
Yeah,
like I think every night he's having sex with Sarah and then waking up with this girl that he hates.
Mm-hmm.
But this time he got interrupted.
Yeah. And so this might be skipping ahead too much, but like they had sex a lot, but he doesn't develop
thousands of times.
But he doesn't have feelings for her until
she
stays. Do you think he's always had feelings for her?
I think he was already falling in love with her. Why memorize all that stuff about her?
To sleep with her?
He doesn't need to know all that stuff.
I don't think I think he didn't develop feelings until after they were staying together. Just knowing men who try to distance themselves and detach as much as possible, it's hard to get at them. So I think maybe subconsciously he liked her, and that's why they slept together so much.
Here's what I'm gonna say. I think your point is valid, very valid. Like, yes, I do think he's detached because when they're in where they're having the campfire thing, which God, we got to talk about that. When they take mushrooms and they're camping, he says that every feeling is fleeting. Which, by the way, was so mean. When he's like, when they're talking about if he would miss her if she's gone, and he's basically like,
you must care about me. Yeah.
I would miss you like I miss this beer being empty, and I'm gonna go grab another beer. And that was what a mean thing to say.
Yeah,
but I don't think he meant it that way. I think what he meant was he's gotten used to everything being temporary. So yes, he's detached himself because he can have sex with her every night, but tomorrow she's not going to know who the fuck he is. And he's got to start all over again.
Yes.
So, but here's what I'll say about that. Chris and I, when we watched the movie the first time, before we knew that they had already slept together, from the beginning, we were like, oh, he wants to sleep with her, obviously, because he's worked out this whole speech and all that. I thought we thought that he loved her before we knew that they had sex, like before that's revealed in the movie. Like when they're in the tent and they're having sex, quotations, for the first time, to her knowledge, that's a whole thing we're gonna have to unpack, by the way. And he stops to look at her, we thought he was gonna tell her that he loves her.
That's what I thought too.
But I think watching it again, that I think he was gonna tell her the truth, that they had already slept together before.
Oh, because she was like, let's get it over with.
But I do think that he was already falling in love with her, but he had already decided that nothing was ever going to be permanent. He couldn't fall in love with somebody because they're never going to remember him. So I think there was some kind of distance there on purpose. What?
I thought of this when we watched it. Not we. I'm sorry. When I watched it again.
When we emotionally watched it together, separately.
Yes. So, if he didn't want her to come with him, why would he take her right next to the cave?
Why would he have sex with her right next to the magical cave? Exactly.
Unless he subconsciously wanted her to come.
And I think the reason that he brought Roy to the cave was because he was lonely.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to admit how lonely he was. Now, he got more than he bargained for with Roy.
Yeah.
Fuck. But yeah, I think he wanted her to be with him, and that He didn't want to admit it to himself. He didn't even want to admit it once they were trapped in there together.
Yeah.
He didn't want to admit it because he'd gotten so used to. I mean, let's look at his life before the loop, the time loop. He's with a girl
remember.
that no, but he's with a woman that doesn't love him.
Yeah.
And doesn't even really like him.
Yeah.
So nothing is really stuck for him even before. And now he's in a time loop where he's completely by himself. The only other person trapped in there with him is Roy, who keeps trying to murder him in the most painful way possible.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't think that even if he did have feelings for her, he would be able to indulge in those feelings in any
That's true.
conscious way.
It's
so sad. He must have been so lonely.
Yeah.
How long do you think he was in there before he met her?
Well, when he says, when he was like, I can't remember what I did before, I was like, well, there's no way that he could have been in there for like 50 years because the wedding is still present day.
But it's a multiverse.
Is it?
That's, I think, what it is. I think he was trapped inside of the repeating multiverse.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I think, what we would get from her whole quantum physics.
Mm.
Anyway, I think here's okay. So there's no answer to this.
Yeah.
So you think he wasn't in there for how long? Do you think he was in there for?
Maybe like a few years.
A few years.
Yeah.
The screenwriter. Now there's no answer because it's not in the movie. It's not explicitly stated, but the screenwriter says that in his mind he was in there for 40 years.
Okay, that makes sense.
But
it doesn't make sense with how people look at the wedding, because like it still looks like it's 2020.
We don't know when present day is.
Yeah.
Time has no meaning when you're in a loop. For them, time is in 2020.
I know things change so fast though in our world.
Right, but even when they restarted the loop, it would still be 2020. I mean, time is a concept we've all come up with.
Right. But what I'm saying, if the loop started 40 years ago, then it would
start 40 years ago. It started in 2020. He's just been doing it for 40 years. Even when it started over and he went to November 10th the next day, it's still 2020.
I see. Yikes. Okay.
Yeah. But that would make sense. He doesn't remember his old life.
Mm-hmm.
And he's tried to kill himself a bunch of times. He's been murdered by Roy a bunch of times. Yeah. I love that in early days, quotation mark, he's still wearing a suit to the wedding. Yes. But like eventually he's just like, fuck it. I'm just going to stay in
Hawaiian.
my swim. Who cares?
Hawaiian
Who gives
shirt.
a shit?
Yeah.
He's completely given up. All right, let's go to your list. Well, wait, I didn't finish this thought. Did I? That quarantine feels exactly like this. Like I wake up every day. Yeah. And it's like I said, I stay in my bed until 10 a.m. because what's the point? That's literally, I feel like Niles every day. Why get out of bed? Every day's the fucking same. Anyway, let's go to your list.
I don't know. I feel the same way.
It felt very relatable to me what Niles is going through. Like everything is, every day is the same.
I honestly didn't even think about quarantine at all when I was watching this, because I feel like the first time I watched it, I was just taking in the plot and the characters just like at face value. But then I watched it again and saw the deeper subtext. And so one of the first things is there are people who accept their fate and people who don't.
That's true.
So I feel like Niles is someone who accepts his fate, gives up, just follows. And then Sarah was like, I'm going to solve quantum mechanics so we can get the fuck out of here.
I love that. First of all, that was very unexpected for me. Like, I feel like it's rare in a movie where a female character is like, is like given the agency to solve the problem and to solve it with science.
Yeah.
Like she's not like, she goes through all the typical things that you think a person would go through, which Niles went through. She tries going home. She tries staying up until she can't stay up anymore. She tries doing different things to change her fate. She tries karma. She tries, by the way, what she does, her karma
Yeah.
I love that what she does is actually very selfish. Like
Yes.
to tell her
yes.
sister what she did
Yeah.
is not good karma.
No.
Later she does
No.
it right. But the first time what she did was not for karma, it was for her to unburden herself.
Also, I loved how I noticed this second time when she was like, "What if we need to commit acts of selflessness?" And that's something that in the actual Groundhog Day movie, that was what got him out of the loop, was
Right.
being selfless. And so I love that they had that little like joke about like,
yes, but what she
acts of
did wasn't
selflessness.
selfless.
No, I know.
It
Yeah.
was very selfish.
Mhm.
But even when she does we'll talk about the end, but I would argue that both of them commit acts of selflessness in the end.
Okay.
So let's put a pin in that. But
Okay.
yes, I think that they do. Whether or not that is what leads to them getting out of the time loop is up for debate. But I love that, they went through all this. She tries to kill herself, all of these different things. And what ends up happening is that when her and Niles get into the fight, she's not like moping around. She's like getting down to business. She enrolls in a fucking class, a fucking online physics class. She gets textbooks. She's doing conference calls with people, and she's at that diner every day until she solves the problem. What theory is going to get me out of her? She's like walking around with like a fucking meter, like metering, like she's figuring that shit out, and then she goes back
She
to
uses
help
a
him.
goat for her experiment.
She does. She sends the goat into the magical cave and blows up the goat, and the goat doesn't come back. So Chris's question was like, "What happened to the goat?" And I'm like, "Well, she said." Maybe we'll go to tomorrow. Maybe we'll go 20 years from now. Maybe we explode. So maybe the goat went 20 years into the future. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what happened to the goat.
But there was a line that she said when they were going to the cave for the very last time, when he was like, "So where did the goat actually disappear?" And she was like, "Well, it's too late for you to change your mind now."
Yes, but
so maybe the goat didn't even disappear. I don't know.
I don't think she would have gone into the cave unless she believed that her theory was solid enough that she wasn't just blowing herself up.
That's true.
She wasn't trying to kill herself. Because if they had blown up,
they would have just come back to
they just would have woken up again. Yeah. So I think that them blowing up probably wasn't likely. Because that they just would have started the loop over again. Yeah, I love that. I love that she became a fucking scientist. That was amazing.
Yeah.
And then I wonder, like, how long? This is the thing. We don't know how long we were in there. Like, after they have that fight, like, how long did she stay away? Was it? I mean, it was long enough to learn fucking quantum physics.
Was it like 3 years?
It could have been.
Because when he saw her again, he was like, he was
miserable.
Just so,
miserable without her. I love that. Every morning, so once she's trapped in the loop with him and they decide, fuck it, we're just going to live our lives in here. They're like dressing in denim outfits, making trouble at the bar. They're riding planes. She has like a birthday party for him, or I guess a happy time loop party.
Millionth birthday.
Happy millionth birthday, dipshit.
Yeah.
They are having a great time. And I love that every time they wake up, you see they are smiling.
They're falling in love.
Oh, it made me so
love
happy.
it. Yes.
It just made me so happy.
Mm-hmm.
And then
they have sex.
So let's talk about this campfire thing. So they take mushrooms. She's trying to open up to him. And basically, I think she's trying to feel around and see, like, she obviously is having feelings for him. Is he having feelings for her? And he's basically just like shutting it down.
I care about you as much as I care about the spear.
Which was fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, but it was really sad. Also, they were on mushrooms, so it's probably not a great time to have that conversation. What do you think the dinosaurs are all about? That was the one thing that I was a little bit like,
they're both seeing the same thing when they're high.
Sure,
I don't know, but I don't know what that means.
The dinosaurs are in the end. Did you see them at the end too?
No.
When they're in the pool and the camera pans up over the desert and to the horizon, you can see the dinosaurs in the horizon.
I didn't see. No.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So what the fuck does that mean?
I have no idea.
Best Chris and I can figure there's like some there's some kind of rip in the multiverse, and the dinosaurs are in there and they shouldn't be there.
So maybe they were both seeing the dinosaurs because they were actually there.
Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, I've taken mushrooms and I've never seen dinosaurs. So I guess maybe if you're taking peyote, I don't know. I guess I don't know what kind of mushrooms they were taking.
So also in that scene, they discussed, actually like right after, like when she was like, you know, when you get to know someone, it matters their story, like their past matters.
Right.
And he was like, all the matters is the next sip.
Or, well, the next part of the chocolate bar. I think he was comparing it to a
bite,
chocolate.
the next bite. Sorry.
Kit Kat or Twix or whatever the hell he's eating.
Yeah.
Well, in a way that's refreshing because she is weighed down by her past.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, so I guess this is a good time to talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
So they have sex. The next morning, it seems like he's actually ready to start talking about his feelings when they're driving around. She wakes up the next morning.
And we find out that she slept with Abe the night before, who
her
is the
sister's fiance. Yes.
And did you pick up on all the clues?
I did the second time I watched it.
The second time?
I cannot believe I watched that movie the first time and did not pick up on the sound of the shower running.
Yeah.
Like I didn't hear the shower at all.
Yeah.
But I was very confused the first time I watched it because I was like, did something happen that was different? Because she seemed different. And we realized the second time we watched it that she gets out of bed usually before he gets out of the shower.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have to face him. But that time she went to sleep happy with somebody she wanted to be with.
Yeah.
And when she woke up, she was lingering.
Mm-hmm.
And so he came out and I think that's the thing that changed was that she had to face what she did again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that's a whole mess. That's a big old mess right there.
Yeah.
But she's upset because now she realizes I'm going to be stuck reliving the worst decision of my life every day for an eternity.
Yeah.
And I'm never going to wake up next to the person I want to be with.
Yeah.
And that's when Roy shows up. We got to talk about Roy. We really haven't talked about Roy. I don't want to get too far ahead because Roy shows up later, but oh man, Roy. I love J.K. Simmons so much. Yeah. He is so good. What did you think about Roy, the character? You were talking about people that accept their fate and people that don't accept their fate. So we can kind of circle back to that now, I think.
Right. So I think that Roy starts out not accepting his fate by killing Niles every chance he gets.
Torturing him, even.
Torturing him, yeah.
Because we see him set him on fire. He waterboards him in one of those cutaways.
So it didn't change until Sarah killed him, like injured him so that he slowly died at the hospital for him to get perspective.
Right. Nothing. Well, what Niles says is nothing's worse than dying slowly at the ICU.
Mm-hmm.
And so Roy experiences that slow, painful death, and that kind of changes his outlook on how he's been treating. But I mean, he feels very angry at Niles and wants to make his life miserable, but only every couple of weeks or years, maybe. We don't know how often he comes by, but he's a guest at the wedding. They get fucked up on what was that stuff? Why is it different colors when they snort it?
Yeah, it's different colors. Is it?
I don't know.
It's not cocaine? No?
I'm not sure. Look,
meth? Maybe heroin? I don't know.
It's not heroin. It's definitely coke or meth or something. I don't know.
Crack? I don't know.
No, it's not crack. You smoke
I don't know
crack.
what drugs look like. I don't know what drugs look like, Nicole.
Maybe one of the kids can tell us out there. Send us a message. femininemistakepodcast@gmail.com. What drugs were Niles and
what blue and yellow
Roy?
And pink drugs?
Was that just a production design thing? Because I've never seen drugs like that. Anyway, they get fucked up. And they end up outside the magical cave, and
J.K. Simmons is like, I want to stay here forever.
Well, he says marriage is a bottomless pit of despair.
Yeah.
At the
He
wedding.
also says, this is the happiest night of my life. And I'm like, oh, that's so sad.
Well, he's very high, though. So you can't really trust what he says. But yeah, he seems like he's in a bad place in his life.
Yeah.
At least emotionally.
Yeah.
That is a man who had kids way too late in his life. And it was it was hard for him. That's the only thing I can imagine is that he had too many nights where he had too many times where he had to potty train kids when he was too old to be potty training kids. But anyway, Niles leads him to the cave, and that's how he ends up in the time loop. And then,
of course,
every
Niles
now and then he shows up
before he can get through the cave. Like, that's so sad. He Niles like collapses and is like, I took too much.
I thought he just passed out.
I don't know.
I didn't think
he was having a seizure or something.
Oh no, I think he just passed out and couldn't get. I thought he just passed out and fell asleep and woke up like normal. I think that's what happened. Personally, I think he was just too incapacitated to stop Roy from going in. But yeah, so they're being followed by Roy in the cop car. And she's very distracted. Niles is trying to have a conversation with her about what happened last night. She doesn't want to talk about it.
Which is interesting because, like, at least in most films, it's usually the other way around, where the woman is like, "Can we talk about our feelings?" And the man is like, "We just had sex. Like, who cares?" It's all
right.
Yeah.
Well, she's very. So what I was trying to get at was that she's very weighed down by her past and what she did, and Niles has lived his life in a way that's the next moment is only what matters.
Mm-hmm.
And so he doesn't. So in a way, it's good for her because he's not going to judge her for her past, and he doesn't.
He doesn't.
Like, at no point does he ever change the way that he feels about her because when he learns that she slept with her sister's fiance,
he's like, oh my gosh, I solved it. I know why she left.
Right.
Yeah.
And also he actually sticks up for her in front of everybody at the wedding. Like, he's basically like, fuck all you people. You've always felt like you were too good for her, and she's actually a really good person. And so he is good for her because he's not going to judge her past, even though she scrutinizes not just what she did that night, but also the failed marriage,
the relationship, the
failed marriage she was in, the fact that her family thinks that she needs all this help and that she's never going to be good enough for anybody. Like, that's what's weighing on her, and he doesn't care about any of that. So it's like kind of, they're good for each other in that way. Welcome to Plug It Up. This is the part of the show where we talk about stuff that we're doing. No guest today. It's just what did we call this? A toasty hosty? Is that what we called it?
Hosty.
Last time we did a twofer. We've got no guest today. Just Sarah and I just having a nice little chat about Palm Springs. Sarah, do you have anything that you would like to plug?
I am working on a book right now, but I don't think I will publish this book. I think this book was just for me.
What? I thought you were going to publish this book.
I think that this has inspired me to write a fictional book in this way, in this style, where it's not, because I think it would be, I don't want all my shit, like all my shit out
all
there.
Your shit.
But I think
gushing.
That
the shit is just gushing.
Yeah. And so I think I just want to practice this skill and get into the habit of it, and then write a fictional book of essays about a fictional woman's life and told in chunks, but they all kind of like fit to get.
What if you do what the person who wrote 50 Shades of Grey did, which is the 50 Shades of Grey person wrote a fan fiction of Twilight and then changed the names and made it fictional? What if you did that?
I've already changed the names. It's too specific. It's
Your
too
writing
close.
is so good, though, Sarah. I think you should. I mean, you can certainly change some of the details, but it's so good.
My writing will be shared. I can write more. That's the thing about writing, is like you can always write more. So like this is just
people
for
are really
me.
Connecting to it, and I'm telling. The reason I say that is because we have a writers group. Sarah's been bringing in chapters, of her book that she apparently has decided she's not writing for the public, but people are connecting to it. So maybe think about that. I understand not wanting to share your personal details of your life, but I think sometimes the thing that is most intimate and makes you feel most vulnerable is the truthful thing that other people are going to feel less alone when they read
Mm-hmm.
that. So
Yeah.
that's what I'll say about that. But don't you also have like a blog or something? You've got a blog now. Do you want to
Oh
plug
yeah.
that?
Yeah. So it's www.sarahalisonhodges.com, which is SarahAlisonhodges.com.
Yes.
And Sarah with an H, Allison with one L. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I have a blog. I only have 2 blog posts right now because I'm very focused on this book that
Mhm.
no one will get to read. But
Sad.
so I know, sad. But yeah, check that out. It has only 2 posts, but I'm trying to do one a month.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Go check it out. It's
Yes.
that website is a lovely mint green color.
Mint green is my favorite color.
Love it.
Yes.
Okay, well, I've got a couple things to plug here. But first, I'd like to plug Critical Crop Top, our production company that produces this podcast, but also produces sketch comedy, web series, films, and the like. So at Critical Crop Top, you can find out more about what we're up to, and I think we've got some cool things coming up. We're going to be releasing video of some of our sketches from our live shows, never before seen unless you came to the show. So that is a treat for you that we're going to be releasing some of our sketch comedy on YouTube. So we have a YouTube channel, Critical Crop Top on YouTube. And of course, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Critical Crop Top. I'm still doing Tutorial Tuesdays. I got one more left. I'll go back to it. I didn't get through. There's still a lot more to go through. I actually really just got through setting up your project and syncing audio and some other technical things. I'm taking a little break from Tutorial Tuesdays because, like I said, I think in the last episode, I'm currently teaching editing virtually because of the pandemic, and so every week it feels like I'm doing YouTube tutorials, and so it lost its luster for a little while there. Also, it's a little hard for me to film in here with my kids. It's hard to
Yeah,
take a
where are those
day.
kids?
They are locked out of this room. That's what's going on. They're out there. I think Chris got them some modeling clay that you can heat up in the oven and it'll harden. So I think that's what they're
Oh.
doing. I know they're making art projects.
Cool.
But Tutorial Tuesdays will come back, but right now the last episode that I've pre-recorded is going up on Tuesday. It is about syncing sound using a program called Pluralize, and I will resume Tutorial Tuesdays. It'll come back, but right now it's kind of going to be on a break. But anyway, so there's some video editing tutorials there. We've got all of our web series, all of our short films. This podcast, and the Georgia Made podcast are also on YouTube. And also the video from this podcast. So right now, if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or Spotify, we do a vidcast now because we're recording virtually over Zoom. So if you want to see our faces, that is being uploaded to YouTube. Usually the podcast comes out on Wednesday. Sarah's doing a pose for you. And the vidcast I usually put up on Friday on YouTube. So at Critical Crop Top is where you can find that. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and then Critical Crop Top on YouTube. We don't have a Feminine Mistake podcast YouTube channel, so all the podcast stuff is on Critical Crop Top's YouTube channel. Also, please, if you're so inclined, you can follow us, the Feminine Mistake Podcast, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, at Feminine Mistake Pod on Facebook and Instagram, and at Fem Mistake Pod on Twitter. And if you like the show, if you like what you hear, maybe consider leaving us a review or a rating. We'd love to hear from you about what you think about the show. And of course, you can always message us or comment and tell us your thoughts on Palm Springs and Andy Samberg's thighs. We want to know what you think.
Yes.
This is an important thing that we need to know. What do you think about Andy Samberg's thighs?
And why is this movie called Palm Springs?
Because it's
very generic.
It takes place in Palm Springs, supposedly.
I know, it's just very generic.
It was not filmed in Palm Springs. Oh, one last detail that I have to get out that we didn't cover, and that is this. Did you know that multiple endings were shot for this movie?
No.
And they had a screening, they invited friends and people to a screening, and they screened the different endings to help them decide on which ending to pick.
What are the different endings?
I don't know. I hope they release some special features one day and we get to see them. I'm going to guess that maybe there's an ending where they didn't get out of the time loop, and maybe I would love to see an ending where they went 20 years into the future by accident. That'd be funny. Mm-hmm. Maybe the goat's
or
there.
Or they died.
Oh God, no. I hope that.
Probably not.
That would be fucking awful. God, what a terrible bleak ending. I hope not. So that's all I got. That's all of the plugs. That's all the plugs that I got. The plug. So,
cool.
Cool.